Okay, so for more than 10 years, the front lines in northern Syria were pretty much frozen. But then, in just a matter of days, everything changed. A massive military offensive has completely redrawn the map, and it's shattering years of Kurdish autonomy and creating this incredibly volatile new reality for the whole region. So let's get into it and break down exactly what's going on.
To really get a sense of the scale of this, just listen to this report from someone on the ground. A massive flow of Syrian government power, military and some civilian, moving in right now. This is not some small skirmish, right? We're talking about an overwhelming force. Columns of tanks, artillery, troops, just pouring into territory that, literally days before, was firmly under someone else's control. And that really gets to the heart of the whole thing. The group that's being pushed out, the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF, well, they've basically governed this entire region for a decade. They were the main U.S. partner in the fight against ISIS. So this offensive, it's not just about grabbing land, it's about completely dismantling a political and military reality that has been in place for 10 years. So the big question is, how did all of this happen so unbelievably fast? Let's take a look at the lightning-quick chain of events that really defined this whole offensive. The speed is it's breathtaking. It all kicks off with some clashes in Aleppo and an initial deal for the SDF to pull back. But by Saturday, the Syrian army is already pushing way beyond that deal. By Sunday, the incredibly strategic city of Tabqa and the massive Euphrates dam are captured. And then, get this, by Monday, government forces are already rolling into Raqqa, a city with huge symbolic weight as the former ISIS capital. But, a military campaign this decisive and this fast doesn't just happen in a vacuum. So what was the spark? Well, it turns out this fire was ignited by the collapse of a political deal, a deal that was meant to prevent this exact scenario. On paper, at least, there was a plan for peace. It was called the March 2025 Integration Deal. The whole idea was to bring the SDF-controlled Northeast back into the fold, to reunite it with the central government through negotiation, not through force. But the two sides were just worlds apart. The Damascus government wanted total reunification. They said, okay, SDF fighters can join the national army, but one by one as individuals. The SDF, on the other hand, dug in. They insisted on keeping their regional autonomy and their own distinct military units. Damascus offered some cultural rights, but for the SDF, it just wasn't nearly enough. So after a year of talks going nowhere, the deal collapsed, and the military option took over. But this fight isn't just about politics and control. Oh no, it is absolutely a battle for the economic heart of Syria, the very resources that could power the entire country's future. And the strategic prize here is immense. The army didn't just capture a few towns, they seized the economic engine of the whole country. We're talking about Syria's single largest oil field, major gas facilities, and two absolutely critical hydroelectric dams on the Euphrates. These are the crown jewels of Syria's economy. And that's exactly why this matters so much. For the SDF, losing these resources is a devastating blow. It cuts off a huge source of their revenue. But for the central government in Damascus, securing them is a total game changer. It gives them control over the country's energy, its water, and its whole economic future. Okay, so who are the actual players on the board in this really complex fight? Let's untangle this web a little bit. First up, you've got the new Syrian government. It's led by President Ahmed al-Shara, and his administration just came to power after ousting Bashar al-Assad. Their goal is crystal clear: reunify all of Syria under one central government based in Damascus. On the other side, you have the SDF, the Syrian Democratic Forces. Remember, this is that Kurdish-led alliance that's been running the north for 10 years and was the key partner on the ground for the U.S. in the war against ISIS. And then there's a third, really crucial player: local Arab tribes. See, in a lot of the areas that the Kurdish-led SDF controlled, the population is actually majority Arab, and some of these tribal fighters have now sided with the government, which adds this powerful local dynamic that really helped speed up the army's advance. So, with the map changing this fast, what in the world happens now? This whole offensive has created a deeply uncertain and frankly dangerous future, with consequences that are going to stretch far beyond the battlefield itself. This number right here, this represents one of the most immediate dangers. There were an estimated 10,000 ISIS fighters being held in prisons all across this region, prisons that are now suddenly smack in the middle of an active war zone. This is creating a massive security vacuum. The SDF says it's lost control of at least one prison. The government is accusing them of just letting fighters escape. But honestly, it doesn't matter who you blame. The result is the same. All this chaos is putting the global fight to contain ISIS in serious jeopardy.
And as always, it's the civilians who are caught right in the middle. In cities like Raqqa, authorities have been begging residents to shelter in place as families find themselves trapped, just trying to escape the fighting between the advancing army and the retreating SDF.
And all of this brings us to the final, critical question. The path of diplomacy failed, and it was replaced by brute force. Now that trust has been completely shattered and the map has been redrawn by tanks and artillery, is a truly peaceful, unified Syria even possible anymore? That remains the deeply uncertain future for a country that has already been through so much.